This is Democracy Now!, democracynow.org, The War and Peace Report. I'm Amy Goodman.
And I'm Juan Gonzalez. Welcome to all of our listeners and viewers around the country and around the world. President Obama's effort to win legislative backing for military strikes against Syria passed its first hurdle on Wednesday when the Senate Foreign Relations Committee voted 10-7 in favor of bombing Syria. The Senate resolution sets a 60-day limit on any engagement in Syria with a possible 30-day extension to deter that government's use and degrade its capacity to use chemical weapons. Under the bill, it would become U.S. policy to, quote, change the momentum on the battlefield in Syria. Democrat Tom Udall was one of 7 senators who voted against the resolution.
I'm voting no because this policy moves the United States towards greater involvement in the Syrian civil war and an increasing regional conflict. This is a very complicated sectarian civil war. Some of the rebels share our values and want an open society. Many others are allied with al-Qaeda and a greater threat to the United States than President Assad ever was. U.S. military involvement, no matter the limits at this point, will likely only pull us towards greater involvement, and with no clear end game.
That's Democratic Senator Tom Udall of Colorado. The other votes against the military resolution came from Democrat Chris Murphy of Connecticut and 5 Republicans: James Risch of Idaho, Marco Rubio of Florida, Ron Johnson of Wisconsin, and John Barrasso of Wyoming, Rand Paul also of Kentucky. Senator Ed Markey of Massachusetts voted present. Meanwhile, anti-war activists with the group Code Pink staged a protest during the House Committee on Foreign Affairs hearing Wednesday. Members of the group waved red-stained hands behind Secretary of State John Kerry's head as he testified. The protest went on for hours and was televised around the world. During a news conference, President Obama urged the international community to respond to the chemical attack in Syria.
My credibility is not on the line. The international community's credibility is on the line. And America and Congress's credibility is on the line because we give lip service to the notion that these international norms are important.
President Obama arrived in Russia today for the G20 summit. The United Nations announced today Lakhdar Brahimi, the UN Arab League envoy in Syria, is on his way to St. Petersburg to try to revive flagging efforts to convene an international peace conference in Geneva. Meanwhile, the Wall Street Journal has revealed new details about the Pentagon's plan to attack Syria. In addition to using Navy destroyers armed with missiles in the eastern Mediterranean, the Pentagon is now planning to use Air Force bombers.
We begin today's show with Democratic Congressmember Alan Grayson of Florida, a member of the House Foreign Relations Committee. In a moment, he'll join us from Capitol Hill. But first, this is Congressman Grayson questioning Defense Secretary Chuck Hagel at Wednesday's hearing regarding the Syrian chemical attack.
Secretary Hagel, there's been a report in the media that the administration has mischaracterized post-attack Syrian military communications and that these communications actually express surprise about the attack. This is a very serious charge. Can you please release the original transcripts so that the American people can make their own judgment about that important issue?
What transcripts are you referring to?
The transcripts that were reported that took place after the attack, in which the government has suggested that they confirmed the existence of an attack, but actually it's been reported that Syrian commanders expressed surprise about the attack having taken place, not confirmed it.
Well, that's probably classified. Congressman, I'd have to go back and review exactly what you're referring to.
Well, you will agree that it's important that the administration not mislead the public in any way about these reports, won't you?
Well, of course, but I'm not aware of the administration misleading the American public on this issue or any other issue.
Will you agree that the only way to put that matter to rest is to release the original reports in some redacted form?
Well, I'm not going to agree to anything until I see it, until I understand better what it is, but most likely it's classified.
And
I understand that.
This is Congressman Alan Grayson questioning Secretary of State John Kerry.
Have members of the Syrian opposition called for such an attack? And if so, whom?
Not specifically that I know of. Have they? They support it, apparently, but they've not advocated to me. I've had conversations with the president of the opposition, and there was no pleading or urging to do this.
In fact, haven't members of the Syrian opposition said they don't want an attack? Isn't that true?
No, I have not heard that.
You haven't seen the public reports to that effect?
That's Representative Alan Grayson, Democrat of Florida's 9th Congressional District, who opposes U.S. strike on Syria and has set up a website, don'tattacksyria.com, where he's gathering signatures for a petition calling on Congress to deny permission to attack Syria. Congressman Grayson joins us now from the Cannon Rotunda in Washington, D.C. Congressman Grayson, the Senate Foreign Relations Committee has voted 10-7 for a strike. You're on the House Foreign Affairs Committee. Talk about what's going to happen there after yesterday's hearing.
Well, I think that the forces of warmongering and the forces of the military-industrial complex are headed for an historic defeat in the House. According to the Washington Post whip count as of this morning, there are 19 members of Congress in favor of this resolution and 174 against. And the reasons are simple. It's not our responsibility, it's not going to do any good, it's expensive, and it's dangerous. And those arguments are winning the day among House members, both Democrat and Republican. The margin among Democrats right now in the House is 4-1 against. The margin among Republicans is over 10-1 against.
Well, Congressman Grayson, the administration people on the news shows last night, their vote counting says that they are confident that this will pass, especially given the fact that key Republican leaders in the House have endorsed the president's proposal. Your sense of why they are so off on their counts?
I think that they're living in a dream world based upon what you just said. These are independent sources, the Washington Post, the Hill magazine, Fire Dog Lake. Everyone recognizes that the administration is an extremely deep hole. And, if you want to talk about McCain's playing poker, I think the administration has now gone from trying to draw the inside straight to bluffing. If they're saying that they're going to win this vote, they're bluffing.
Yesterday, President Obama was questioned in Stockholm, Sweden, the Nobel Peace Prize winner.
Mr. President, you've given very eloquent talks about the moral force of nonviolence. I was wondering, could you describe the dilemma to be a Nobel Peace Prize winner and getting ready to attack Syria?
I would refer you to the speech that I gave when I received the Nobel Prize. And I think I started the speech by saying that compared to previous recipients, I was certainly unworthy. But what I also described was the challenge that all of us face when we believe in peace, but we confront a world that is full of violence and occasional evil. And the question then becomes, what are our responsibilities?
Congressmember Alan Grayson, can you respond to President Obama's question?
Well, let's talk about what our responsibilities are not. Our responsibilities are not to ignore the United Nations. Our responsibilities are not to ignore NATO or the Arab League. Our responsibility is not to ignore the International Court of The Hague. Our responsibility is not to make vague remarks about red lines and to follow them up with equally vague remarks about violating international norms, which is a cover for saying that the Syrians have not violated international laws. I'm very disturbed by this general idea, this notion that every time we see something bad in the world, we should bomb it. And in fact, the president himself has criticized that mindset, and now he's adopted it. It's simply not our responsibility to act alone and punish this. I'll give you an example. There's substantial evidence right now, which the Russians have chosen to actually present to the United Nations, unlike the United States at this point, of the rebels using poison gas. Are we going to bomb both sides?
Well, Congressman, in the hearing yesterday, you pressed this issue of whether the administration was misrepresenting the evidence it had. Could you elaborate further on that? And because that's obviously a very important charge if it's true.
Well, the Daily Caller reported in great detail that the report that the administration relied upon, in which the administration said that the Assad government must have been involved in this attack and ordered this attack because afterward one of the Assad generals commented on it. Well, according to the Daily Caller, the comment was, "We didn't do this," or words to that effect. And the administration has, if that's the case, if that was the comment, the administration has completely mischaracterized it. And in fact, as far as I can tell, not a single member of Congress has actually seen the underlying document. What's been provided to us so far is a 4-page unclassified document, and if we bother to go down to the bowels of the congressional facility here, a 12-page classified document. But that classified document cites 300 underlying intelligence reports, none of which have been released to any member of Congress, despite the fact that we all have classified clearance. And I indicated that if there is some possibility that the administration is misleading the public regarding any of those 300 documents, then that has to be dispelled. We can't go to war by mistake again.
We're going to break and then come back to this discussion with Florida Congress member Alan Grayson. He sits on the House Foreign Affairs Committee that will also be voting. Then the House and the Senate overall will vote whether to strike Syria. President Obama is currently at the G20 summit in St. Petersburg, Russia. This is Democracy Now! We'll be back with Congressmember Grayson and then host a debate between two Syrian opposition members about what the U.S. should do. Stay with us.